What's up guys, Julian Goldie here, and in this video we're going to go over the question, should you select a niche for your SEO agency? Now, if you've spent any time researching this topic, you might have come across the phrase, the riches are in the niches. But I mean, is that really true? It sounds catchy and nice, but is that the only good thing about this phrase? I mean, are you going to make more money with your agency catering to a specific market instead of everyone that needs SEO services? And how can that genuinely be true? Well, there are pros and cons for both sides of the coin here, and this video is going to go over this argument and we'll dive into the pros and cons of niching down your SEO agency. I'm also going to go over some tips that will help you achieve success should you decide to go in a certain direction. For example, in section number 3, I'm going to go over the tips and advice for people who don't want to niche down. Anyhow, make sure you watch until the end, otherwise you might not get down to the bottom of this dilemma, so let's get started. So what does niching down mean, and is it a good approach? Now, before we really dive into this topic, it might be a good idea for me to clarify what it means to focus on a niche for your agency. So when starting an SEO agency, there are essentially 3 different ways you can niche down. With that said, let's look at these 3 different approaches. So the first type is offer specific services. So one way you can narrow down your SEO agency is by focusing on a specific kind of service. Now, if you're familiar with SEO, you'll know that it isn't this big singular thing, right? Like SEO is made up of several different moving parts as shown by this graphic. If you want to narrow down your SEO agency, you can do so by just concentrating on one of these broad elements of SEO, or even just a specific aspect within one of these options. So you could focus on general off-page SEO, or you could focus on creating an agency that does a specific form of off-page SEO, such as link building, right? I mean, if you want to, you could even narrow down things a bit further here. So you could just focus on creating an agency that only does a specific kind of link building, such as Harrow link building, in a specific niche. And if you're going to go down this route, you might even want to focus on something you have experience with. For example, right, if you've worked in the link building department of an agency before, you might already know how to build backlinks, and so specializing in this would be a good way to narrow down your agency. Alternatively, if you've built your own projects, you might find one particular task that was easy and enjoyable, and therefore you want to specify in that type of link building. So you might have enjoyed content, for example, or something like that. If that's the case, you might want to specialize in this and then focus your agency so that it only does this kind of work. Of course, I just want to make it very clear here that you don't necessarily need to have experience with a certain kind of SEO to start a specialist agency. In fact, later on in this video, we're actually going to cover how you can offer services you don't really have any experience in. However, that said, if you have relevant experience and knowledge, it's definitely an advantage to you. And to be fair, if you're just starting out, you need all the advantages you can get. Anyway, that's one way you can specialize your agency. Another way is to focus on a specific industry. So the other option is to work within a specific industry, and you might just want to offer SEO services to certain industries like dentists, lawyers, or something like that. This approach can work great because in the world of SEO, there's often certain tricks that work well in specific niche areas, right? So if you focus on a certain industry, you'll discover what these tricks are, and you'll make it easier for you to deliver results for clients this way. Plus, the more niche you make your services, the easier it is to productize and repeat and rinse that process for every client that you have. And often there's a big overlap between potential and past clients. So when you're talking to potential customers, it won't be that hard to convince them that you can deliver results when you're able to show them what you've done for other clients who are in the same niche as your potential clients. And essentially, they all struggle with the same problems, right? Until you come along. Now, something I just want to touch on here is that this approach often works better for local firms rather than national businesses. One of the reasons for this is that you don't want to be in a position where you have 2 clients that are both going after the same keywords. I mean, this is obviously going to create a massive conflict of interest between 2 of your clients. In fact, when working on SEO campaigns for national or international companies, some clients might ask you to sign something that says you're not going to offer services to a competitor whilst you're working for them. or even sometime after. If you're dealing with a local business, this often isn't an issue. After all, for the most part, a local law firm in New York isn't going after the same market as a law firm in LA. So if you're offering local SEO services to clients who are in the same niche but in different areas, that's definitely going to be something that works. And the third way to niche down is to overlap both of these strategies, right? So this basically means you could offer a specific service for a specific industry. So you could offer just link building services for e-commerce stores or technical SEO for SaaS businesses. You're basically free to overlap things as much as you want, and there's no rules when it comes to how much you can niche things down. The only thing that matters is whether there's any demand. Now, at this point, you might be wondering where local SEO fits into this whole situation. And for the sake of this video, I think the easiest way to think about this is by basically putting local SEO into its own category. You can then use the frameworks we've covered earlier to figure out how niching works well in the world of local SEO. So for example, you could offer just local services to a certain kind of regional business. Alternatively, you could offer local search engine optimization services, such as citation building, to all kinds of local firms. Anyway, that's a basic, rough overview of how niching works when it comes to SEO. And if you're interested in the idea of niching down your agency, you might be looking for some advice on what's the best approach here, specifically for you. Unfortunately, I can't really give you a concrete answer here, as it depends on you, your experience and your skills, and also the kind of work you're comfortable doing. That said, in the next section, we're going to cover some of the pros and cons of narrowing down the focus of your agency. And once we've finished this section, it might be easier for you to work out which direction you should go in with your agency and whether you should specialize your agency in the first place. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video, please remember to like and subscribe. If you like this video, it's going to help me teach more people. Also, if you become a subscriber, it's going to be easier for you to find my future videos where I cover other important SEO stuff, such as how you can grow your agency, manage clients, and much, much more. Trust me, it's all important content. I mean, deciding if you should niche down is really only a tiny part of the process of running an agency. And there's a ton of other things you still need to learn, so don't miss out. Alright, so let's talk about the pros and cons of niching down your SEO agency. Let's start off with the pros of this approach. So first of all, it makes life a bit easier. So one of the main things that's good about focusing down your agency is that it just kind of makes life easier. I mean, if you do everything and anything as an agency, you're going to have to learn and do a lot of different tasks, right? You'll need to handle content creation, links, on-page SEO, and even just general client and supplier communication management stuff on top of all of that as well. On the other hand, if you just concentrate on one specific kind of service, you won't run into this problem, and life will be a lot easier. I mean, you're only being hired to do one sort of task, and then this means that your deliverables are much easier to manage. Plus, if you're just focusing on delivering one kind of outcome, well, it becomes really easy for you to create SOPs and basically just a machine or process in your agency that helps you achieve your clients' outcomes. This then makes it a whole lot easier for you to deliver results for your clients, all of which means happier clients, better retention, and perhaps more referrals for you. By the way, if you have any tips when it comes to creating SOPs, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear about them. Anyhow, I've actually found this to be true in my own business. For example, we focus on link building and we've delivered amazing results for several clients in different industries. For instance, we helped one company go from 0 to 145,000 visitors per month and another go from 0 to 17,000 visitors per month. One of the main reasons we could deliver results like this is because we specialize in link building and we have a dialed in process that we've built after focusing on this form of SEO. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if my agency focuses on a specific industry instead of a service? Will life still be easier compared to not niching down? Well, in some ways, the answer is yes. Why? Because if you're working within a certain industry, you'll essentially be doing a lot of similar tasks for all of your clients. For example, if you're dealing with dentists, you'll mostly be setting websites up in the same way over and over again, and you'll be targeting the same kinds of keywords, creating the same form of content, and a lot of the time, you'll also be building the same types of backlinks, right? So, as mentioned earlier, you're essentially doing the same tasks over and over again for different clients. So it isn't that hard to develop a system that runs like clockwork for your business. Whereas if you're working with loads of different industries, it can be way harder to streamline all the systems and processes in your agency. Therefore, every time you take on a new client, you're going to have to conduct a review to figure out how you should approach things. And that can be a total nightmare, because you'll be crafting a new strategy each and every time. And that can be really difficult with clients. Plus, if you're dealing with a client in an industry that you don't have much experience with, you might not even be sure if your approach is going to work as well as it should. Also, when you niche down, marketing is far easier. Specializing makes it easier to market your agency. And there's not really that much to say on it here. I mean, if you specialize, it's now easier to figure out who you should be targeting and how you should craft your promotional material. Plus, the more targeted you are with your marketing, the more effective it is. And this will generate more conversions because your marketing campaigns will be very relevant to the people that see them. And this means that you'll achieve much higher ROI on your marketing spend. Now, if you're just starting out and you have a limited marketing budget, then this is obviously very helpful for you and your business. Okay, we've talked about the pros. Now it's time to talk about the cons of niching down. So first of all, of course, you're going to have a smaller market size. This is one of the downsides of niching down because you have a smaller pond to fish from. The SEO industry is absolutely massive, and between 2021 and 2025, it's probably going to double. So if you niche down too much, you might be limiting your ability to benefit from the massive growth in this industry. Now, you might be thinking there's still a lot of opportunity if you focus on a specific niche. And while that's true, it's hard to deny that maybe you make more money if you just deal with every element of SEO. However, what I think is that if you specialize, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you hassle, and you'll deliver the service better. So therefore, you should niche down because it will make your life easier. And the other thing is, if you offer lots of different services, you may have no idea how you're going to fulfill everything. After all, if you only know how to do something like content creation, how are you supposed to help clients with link building? Or perhaps the easiest solution here is to just outsource this part of your business to someone that can help you with fulfillment. This is kind of like having the best of both worlds because you can now offer way more services to your potential clients without having to worry about messing things up and ruining the relationship with your client. Now, if you like the idea of doing this, you might want to book in a free consultation with us at juliangoldie.com. That's because we actually offer certain kinds of SEO fulfillment services to people that run agencies. And if you'd like to learn more about how we can help you, particularly with link building, feel free to get in touch at juliangoldie.com. Now, another con associated with niching down is that it can just be totally boring. Now, this might sound like a tiny issue, but actually if you're working on your business day in, day out, 24 hours a day, it's going to be a little bit of a grind because you're basically going to be encountering the same kinds of clients and challenges time and time again. This might limit your ability to learn new things and it could potentially lead to burnout. Now, if you're working on different aspects of SEO or in different industries, the odds of you getting bored are a lot lower as you're going to be dealing with new scenarios all of the time. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Hopefully it's answered any questions you might have when it comes to whether you should select a niche for your SEO agency. Everyone has their own opinion here and preferences. So ultimately, I can't tell you which approach is going to work for you. Of course, if you have any questions or you'd like some advice on how to niche down, please leave a message in the comments and I'll be happy to help out. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like my videos, it's going to expand my reach. And if you become a subscriber, you'll get to hear me talk about SEO in more detail.